Tonight we run a 24-hour clock on a part of the map that doesn't trend until it does. The Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania sit on a narrow shelf of NATO territory between the Baltic Sea and Russia-S borders, with a Russian exclave to the west and Kaliningrad's missile batteries watching the shipping lanes. It's quiet until one small event isn't. An unmanned aircraft passes a line on a screen, a radar returns a path that doesn't match a flight plan, and a scramble order goes out to jets that sit fueled, armed, and bored by design. This is the moment when a routine day can become the front page. There is no dramatic declaration, only timers starting in operations rooms and phones lighting up in capitals that know what a tripwire looks like. Hour zero begins with identification. A radar track appears inside NATO airspace where it shouldn't be. The first task isn't punishment, it's certainty. Is the track a civilian drone gone wrong, a military test, a decoy, or a spoofed ghost on the scope? Air policing rules are written for this. Fighters launch, controllers vector them to intercept, and crews follow a script that balances caution and speed. Cameras on wings and helmets collect proof as important as missiles. On the ground, air defense batteries move a notch up the alert ladder. No one wants an accident. Everyone wants the option not to be surprised. The public sees none of this. The public sees a normal sky. The next hour belongs to attribution. Evidence moves from wings to screens to secure lines that link allies. Pictures get marked up. Analysts compare signatures against known models and prior incidents. If a craft was downed, debris tells stories, serial numbers, engine types, navigation chips that whisper who made what. But perfect answers take time, and time is the one resource a tripwire tries to steal. So decision-makers work with confidence intervals instead of certainties, choosing language that's narrow enough for accuracy and broad enough to leave doors open. Violation, uncrewed system, unsafe behavior. Words matter because words shape the ladder you can still climb down later. By hour 2 to 3, the messaging phase starts. A capital releases a short statement that something crossed into Alliance airspace and was intercepted or neutralized. The Allies echo the wording because unity is defense. Behind the scenes, ambassadors request urgent consultations. Nobody says Article 4 yet, but everyone thinks about it. In the same window, air policing expands. More jets go to the quick reaction line. Tankers reposition to keep fighters in the air longer than a single sprint. Surveillance aircraft draw ovals in the sky at distances that send quiet messages. It's not a show of force so much as a show of focus. The goal is to make sure any second incident runs into a wall of attention. Hours 3 to 6 are where the incident becomes a market story. Traders aren't geopoliticians, they are probability calculators with deadlines. They see headlines about airspace violation and briefly price the risk that something larger happens. Oil ticks up, then calms if tankers move without delays. Defense stocks twitch. Currency desks check if flight paths between Europe and Asia change enough to hurt schedules. This doesn't move neighborhoods, it moves numbers. But numbers shape headlines for the afternoon, and headlines shape how mayors, governors, and school administrators frame their own updates. Nothing is broken here, but we're watching. Somewhere in this window, cyber probes arrive like static on a radio. They're not major and not new, but they pick up when tensions rise, targeting municipal websites, media outlets, and small services that citizens notice when they stop working. The point isn't to blind an enemy, it's to fill their day with distractions, to make every official a little more tired. Good defenders expect this, segment networks, and post boring, verified updates. A city that can say no accounts were compromised. These pages will load slowly keeps its people calm. Calm narrows the room for escalation. Hour 6 to 12 is the consultation phase. Article 4 is on the agenda because that's the clause allies use when they want the council to meet and compare threat assessments. Calling Article 4 isn't escalation by itself. It's a safety valve that turns private concern into collective clarity. Foreign ministers, defense chiefs, and their staffs share what they know. The track, the debris, the signatures, the intercept tapes. They discuss posture changes that lower risk rather than raise its shifting air patrol routes, bringing air defenses to a ready state, visible enough to deter but not dramatic enough to tempt. They debate words because our tools, the right nouns support stability, the wrong verbs dare someone to prove a point. This is when the off-ramps and on-ramps multiply. An off-ramp looks like a clear incident explanation: stray hardware, malfunction, a local actor not directed by a state, and a coordinated plan to prevent repeats. That plan might include expanded notification zones, more joint patrols, and hotline calls between headquarters that rarely admit they talk. An on-ramp looks like a second incident or a reaction that treats the first as a provocation rather than a warning. Two incidents mean pattern, and pattern forces posture. That's why the space between hour 6 and 12 is so important. It's where professionalism can keep pride from taking over. By hour 12 to 15, the public line hardens. If the track was downed, the photos are released. If it was escorted out, that video rolls on loop. The point is not internet victory. It's evidence, so the next rumor about a mystery aircraft has to climb over proof already in people's heads. Capitals synchronize their language. You hear the same verbs in multiple time zones, because allies agreed to say the same thing. That repetition is deterrence. It tells whoever tested the line that the alliance has a single voice and, more importantly, a single plan. Hours 15 to 18 bring posture changes people near the Baltic feel. Airbases hum more loudly at night. Road convoys move air defense units to positions that protect critical points. Naval patrols fill corridors where civilian traffic intersects military routes. Nothing is hidden because the point is to be seen. Deterrence is often a photograph of what someone will run into if they try this again. Local populations adapt quickly. This isn't 1930. People go to work while jets climb. Kids do homework while a convoy passes a window. The difference between drama and stability is whether officials explain what these movements mean before rumors do. 18 to 21 hours is when Article 4 can become real if the evidence and pattern justify it. The council meets. The statement is short because the real work is tasking. Instructions to commanders to adjust air patrols, plans to increase surveillance, orders to accelerate certain deployments that were already on a calendar. This isn't mobilization. It's gardening, pruning, risk, watering unity, pulling weeds of confusion. A well-written article for outcome lowers the chance of an accident by making sure everyone near the sky knows what the sky looks like for the next week. In the same window, the other side sends signals to, they say the craft was off course, or they deny it existed, or they claim a routine training run close to lines nobody owns. They fly near borders to measure reactions. They light up radar to see who looks back. This is the choreography of pressure. Professionals on each side know the steps and try to keep them from turning into shoves. The danger isn't intent, it's fatigue. Crews on long hours make small errors. Small errors near red lines can become big news. That's why timelines matter. A crisis that stays inside 24 hours is easier to fold back into normal than one that stretches into 3 days of mistakes waiting to happen. The last 3 hours of our clock 21 to 24 are where a narrative locks in. Either the incident is filed with a plan and posture that makes a repeat less likely, or a second contact forces the alliance to move up the ladder. Moving up doesn't mean Article 5, it means harder air policing, more active air defenses, tighter rules for aircraft without plans anywhere near borders. The difference is subtle but real. You can hear it in radio calls and see it in the way patrols overlap like roof shingles. Redundancy is caution made visible. What does any of this mean for Americans who live far from the Baltic? Markets will do what markets do. Price, risk, and settle if a clear plan exists. You might see brief jumps in energy prices and a stronger bid for defense names. You might see cyber probing of services you actually use, local news sites, utility portals, but that's why companies practice segmentation. Most people will experience the crisis as a notification on a phone and a line on a map in the evening news. The more competent the messaging, the more boring the day feels. Boring is victory. There's also a military rhythm you'll notice if you know where to look. Air refueling tracks reroute transport aircraft, move pieces of air defenses that look like boxes until they unfold into radars and launchers. Guard units at home get warning orders that don't promise deployments, but ask people to be ready. None of this means war is next. It means professionalism is next, people doing the work that keeps a small incident small. For households, the smartest reaction is not fear, it's friction control. If alerts buzz your phone more often for a week, if headlines about Baltics and Article 4 crowd your feed, it doesn't change your grocery list. A little cash in case a payment app has a bad day. A small buffer on medication so a shipping delay isn't a scare. Backup light and power so information stays yours if a line blips. These are the same steps we recommend for storms and cyber events. Because the point is the same. Be hard to disturb. Panic is a choice. So is preparation. The lesson of the Baltic Tripwire is simple. Geography doesn't start wars, behavior does. A drone that crosses a line is an invitation to misread intent. The antidote is clarity, evidence, and a plan you can show the world. Article 4 exists for exactly this, to turn a sharp intake of breath into a coordinated exhale. Whether that's enough depends on the next 24 hours after any incident. Do professionals stay in charge, or do emotions seize the microphone? If professionalism wins, the story ends with a communique and some photographs of jets at sunrise. If emotion wins, the next video in this series writes itself. If this helped you see the timeline more clearly, subscribe to Red Alert Zone and turn on notifications. In our next briefing, we map the specific off-ramps that lower risk in crowded skies, and the on-ramps you should watch for if a second incident turns a day of tension into a week of tests. Stay informed, stay prepared, stay steady.